Republicans figured this out a long time ago, and you add in a dash of racism, or a lot of racism,
Yep.
and against whoever. And I mean, and it leads now to Joe, who's punching the clock at the factory, believing that his biggest problem every day is the Hispanic guy who's roofing houses in his neighborhood, and not
Right.
the millionaire executive at his own company who's stealing the shit out of his wages that he ought to be making.
This is an old playbook. I mean, it's you think about what happened in this state well over 100 years ago with the 1901 Constitution. I mean, it's the same general kind of approach where you try to find a way to pit, the poor against each other, or in the case of the state of Alabama, the poor whites against the poor blacks.
Alrighty, kiddos. It's another fantastic week. Your favorite political podcast. It's Alabama Politics This Week with Josh Moon and
David Person.
How are you, David?
Man, I'm good. And by the way, I know we got to do our Wind Creek entertainment spot. And speaking of that, we got a really funny, I thought, shout out at a there was a meeting of they call themselves the Liberal Ladies Brigade, I think, here in North Alabama. And I happened to be at their meeting this past Sunday. And one of the candidates, our friend Candace, who's running for the 5th Congressional District, Kansas.
Duval Yamani.
Well, mess up Candace's last name because I'm not looking at it. But Candace Duval, that's not even right.
No,
but Candace, what is it? Duvalal?
I don't know.
Duvalal?
I'm not attempting it, David. You get yourself into this mess. You get yourself out.
Yeah, well, and I did get myself into it, but I got to give her a shout out because Candace did us a solid in her, Duvalal, I think is how it's pronounced. Candace gave us a shout out in her remarks in front of the ladies, and she even included Wind Creek Entertainment. So
is that right?
That's
nice.
Yeah,
that's
she
nice.
said the Alabama Politics This Week, sponsored by Wind Creek Entertainment. Got a laugh out of the folks, and I had to chuckle. That was funny. So shout out to Candace
nice.
On that. Yeah.
Nice. Very, very nice. Well, listen, I like that. I like that completely because I'm proud to be sponsored by the folks at Wind Creek over there.
Absolutely.
They're good people, and we enjoy their sponsorship. And as I've said many, many times before, they are the perfect kind of sponsor because they don't ask us for literally anything. They just say, hey, we appreciate the program that you put on. We like hearing from people that are not given a voice in a lot of other media outlets in this state. You hardly ever hear from most of the folks who we have on. That includes today's guest, Mayor Stephen Reed. You read a lot about Stephen Reed, but very few people, very few programs actually have him on. Some around Montgomery maybe from time to time, but for the most part, for all the statewide attention that he and his city get, he doesn't get a lot of interview requests. Because people, that's hard. It's hard to criticize somebody and then have them on the air and talk about the issues and stuff. And so, that's, we kind of pride ourselves on getting those folks on and talking to people and letting people know that there are good folks out there with decent ideas on how to run government and how to do things a little bit differently than the way we've been doing it around here. And I think the folks at Wind Creek Entertainment appreciate that. They must. They sponsor, and here we are. And we appreciate that, and we appreciate what they do. They are the state's largest hospitality employer, and that's because they operate 3 fantastic resorts in the state, along with several other hotels and businesses around as well. But the 3 resorts are in Wetumpka, Atmore, and Montgomery. Sorry. Okay. Drew a blank on who I'd already mentioned. Montgomery. I that's how bad my brain is these days. I can't remember what I just said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Montgomery, Wetumpka, Atmore, go to one of those 3 places. Get online, Wind Creek Entertainment, book a stay with them. If Christmas is coming up, book a stay. I'm telling you, you want to watch some bowl games? You want to watch the college football playoffs from beginning to end? Do what I'm telling you, okay? Book a nice stay. book a nice little weekend getaway right now. I mean, come on. Auburn's playing Mercer. You're not watching Auburn play Mercer. You know, there's nothing going on. You know, book yourself a nice day. Get yourself set up for the long haul. For the to be able to
You've given up on
say,
Auburn. You've given up on Auburn this season,
no,
haven't
no,
you?
no. Listen.
Do you have it?
Alabama has got
Okay.
a trip to Jordan-Hare Stadium at night to go to the
Okay.
college football playoffs.
Okay. All right.
Man, you know what Nick Saban said about Jordan-Hare? That place is haunted. So good luck. But no, so I'm not giving up. No, I'm very much looking forward to that night game Iron Bowl. Those are pretty rare. We don't get a lot of those, and I like it.
Okay. All right.
But no, listen, I'm telling you, and for that matter, if you're going to the Iron Bowl, book a stay in Wetumpka. Just stay there and have a good time at the Wind Creek Resort in Wetumpka. You're going to enjoy it, I promise you. Look them up online, book a stay. You will not regret it. All righty, let's get into life. Hey, you're not going to believe this, David, but all of the Alabama delegation voted to release the Epstein Files.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't it amazing?
Isn't that just amazing?
What do you think
I
happened?
really keep waiting for the other shoe to drop on this. There's a part of me, a very cynical part of me, that just thinks there's something to this Trump about face
Mm-hmm.
that has then allowed his Republican followers, his MAGA Republican followers, to then make an about face. And I'm just waiting to see what is this other what is that really all
You
about?
know
I know a
it.
lot of the national media is saying it's because he really didn't have any choice because Massey, Congressman Massey's efforts. The congressman in Kentucky
Mm-hmm.
were just too. He was just too doggedly determined, and then of course Marjorie Taylor Greene flipped, and so all of that together kind of created this force that Trump
Mm-hmm.
couldn't turn around or couldn't fight back or push back, so he had to flip as well so that he wouldn't look so bad. But I just keep thinking something else is going to happen with this. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, all throughout the one thing, no matter what, else, I think that even most MAGAs should be able to admit, okay, is that Trump's objectives and the way he goes about things are so obvious. I mean, it's almost like a child trying to pull off a scheme, or a child trying to pull off a prank, a little kid trying to pull off a prank, and where you can see it, from the way that they've done it, the look on their face, or the way that they've gone about it, what they're doing, and it's always been the same way with Trump. You can always see it, you can always tell it. It's always so obvious, and this all of a sudden this fight, this stuff. You're calling, Lauren Boebert into the Oval Office and trying to,
Yeah.
pressure her into these things, and Nancy Mace as well. And, putting all this pressure on them to vote against it, to keep it hidden. And then all of a sudden, bam.
Yeah.
Well, just release them. Just release them. It's no big deal. Vote for it. What do you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're right in that he saw the writing on the wall, that they was not going to be able to stop this.
Mhm.
But more than that, I think he and Bondi and Patel and whoever his attorneys are who are involved in this have come up with a scheme to keep the most damaging files for him out of the hands of the public. That's what has happened here, and
Do you think
I
do
think
you think it was the
they're going to use
call
that. I think they're going to use that the investigation of the
Clinton?
Democrats.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think they're
Yep.
going to use some of that. And now they may not say that. They may not. They may just say there's an investigation still related to portions of these files, and so all of the files that are still under investigation won't be there. But it'll be. And my fear and the outset is that it'll be hidden to the point to where it won't be as obvious for people. And so he'll be able to get around some of the outrage. But then I also think back to the release of that video of the outside the Epstein cell, if you recall, that proved that Epstein hung himself and nobody came in there.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden it was
Mhm.
missing like a full minute and a half. And they were like,
Yeah, yeah,
and everybody
yeah.
immediately was like, what the fuck are you doing? There's a
Right.
minute missing. That's of course there's a minute missing. And so I have full faith that it's going to be as stupidly executed as that now.
Mm.
And so we'll probably know what's going on. And look, let's keep in mind there are a lot of people out there who know what's in the Epstein files. They know
Yeah, that's right.
what's going on. And so I think we'll learn what's happening here. And I think that some of those victims who have given testimony, who have been interviewed now on a number of different programs, who talk about the names that are in the file. They haven't actually named the names, but they've said that they know who they've told them were in there. If it pops out and those names aren't there, I'm sure we're going to start to hear from a lot of those victims, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I
I
think
just think that it's
that's a great point.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the victims are the victims seem to be becoming more empowered and more enraged at this horrible, horrific situation. And to our own Senator Katie Britt,
Mm,
who actually had as one of her talking points earlier this week, the fact that she didn't hear any Democrats calling for the release of the Epstein files during the Biden years. My response to that is, are you kidding me? Why
yeah.
would they have? Joe Biden's name has never been linked at all to Epstein. Now, Bill Clinton's has, sure, as Donald Trump's has. And
Yeah.
this was before Donald Trump even, I think it was before he even got in the presidential race, that
Mm-hmm.
Clinton and Trump's names were up there along with Andrew, who's been dethroned,
Yeah. Prince Andrew. Yes.
Prince
Yeah.
Andrew, the former Prince Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
and some other people. But
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. No, just
why
Andrew,
would there have
not
been
just
a call
Andrew.
for it? Yeah, just
Yeah.
Andy. Just call him
Yeah.
Andy.
Just
Why
Randy.
in the world would there have been a call for it then? It wasn't relevant. It
Well,
wasn't
no,
relevant
it was under
then because
investigation at that
I
particular
mean,
time.
what I'm saying is it wasn't relevant to the extent that there would need to be this call. I mean, Epstein, was dead, and
Mm-hmm.
what would the point have been from a political standpoint or even a Department of Justice standpoint? But now,
Yeah.
it's a whole new ball game when you have a sitting president who's tied perhaps to this child trafficker and this human trafficker. That's when it became relevant again. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, look. I think that it's important to kind of recognize the timeline of things as well, and in there, and because there was an investigation that was happening. There was a lawsuit that was taking place with Ghislaine Maxwell that was going on, and there were a number of different things that were a part of that, and so there were a lot of things that were happening with those files at that particular time, and if I'm not mistaken, all of them were part of that investigation, that ongoing investigation or lawsuit, and were sealed by the federal court during the Biden years. And it was really these MAGAs like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and some of these other folks who
We're
started this
calling for the
drumbeat
release.
of, hey, because they were so convinced that this thing involved only Democrats and Bill Clinton and all these folks. And as I've said all along, okay, if Bill Clinton's in the fight, let's shame the hell out of Bill Clinton and put him in jail or whatever needs to happen to
Yeah.
Bill Clinton. Whatever we can prove on Bill Clinton, let's do it. And so and it's really been confusing to me why that we have these people who remain so adamant about defending Trump over what's taking place, and going to the mat for this guy. I don't. That's the thing that I don't understand about a lot of this is, it would be, and I wrote about this week, and I basically said, because they keep talking about the Epstein files being a distraction, and I said, you know what? in some ways, they are a distraction from what's actually taking place throughout the country right now because it's a mess, and that's what's so confusing to me about these people who continue to defend Trump against everything, against all things, as though it would be, I could understand it if Trump had sent out the $2,000 checks, which, by the way, just really waiting on that, really putting my
That's a
budget
bad
on.
idea.
Well,
I
of
mean,
course it is.
you're gonna give you raise taxes through the tariffs, and then
Yes.
you're gonna say, "Oh, let me give you back the money that I took from you," and we're supposed to be happy about that as though
You're
that's
not
some
getting that
major
money. Yeah.
innovation,
Yeah. You're
you
not getting
know?
that money. It's never coming.
And everybody's not getting it. That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Well,
not.
and it just, nobody's going to get it if I had my guess.
But you
Oh,
don't think
hell
he's gonna
no.
do it at all? Oh, you think
No,
that's
no,
just
hell no.
talk?
No, of course it's just talk. And I'll tell you what part of it is. I think part of it is a game plan to put pressure on the Supreme Court or to be able to say, look what the Supreme Court cost you. Well, now they've overturned my tariffs and now I cannot give you the $2,000 that I wanted to.
Do you think that's where it's going? Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
interesting.
hell yeah.
Okay.
This is where it's going. But that you can tell by the, was it Basent that keeps going on all these, this is Treasury Secretary guy that keeps going on all these shows and talking about, well, news in the 2000 could come in many forms, and could go to many. And he clearly has no idea. And then somebody finally pressed Trump yesterday, day before yesterday, about when the $2,000 was coming. And he was like, 226, 20, early, mid to late 2026, mid to late 2026, I would say. It's clearly just off the, just pulling it out of his ass, basically.
Okay.
And yeah, and so no, I don't think that's coming at all. But more than that, I mean, take a look around at what's everybody knows that the prices are still up. And, those prices were going to be coming down almost immediately, according to the guy in office. And he's actually done the opposite and put these ridiculous tariffs on products that have driven prices up. We all know that. You look what he's done to farmers with some of the tariffs and some of the problems. Look what, look at some of the other things that have happened around here. Like, we've got ICE running around like a secret army of absconding people from the streets and kidnapping them, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, and a lot of those people are American citizens that they're doing
They're
this
finding
too.
out. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're finding
And
that
so,
out. Yeah.
so we've got that going on, which is very, very unpopular with the majority of people, not to mention the fact that it is absolutely another thing that's crushing farmers and going to jack up food prices even more. You've cut SNAP benefits to everybody. I know that we're having SNAP restored, but there's still significant cuts to those things.
Yeah.
Then we healthcare cuts.
So the thing that seems so dumb too about the cutting of the snaps, it's almost the same with the whole way this administration is treating immigration. They continue to forget how inextricably linked these things are to the national economy. So
Yeah.
you take away SNAP benefits, you're not just hurting the people that you want to punish, because you think there's fraud or waste or whatever, as Katie Britt was talking about and as others have talked about, but you're hurting the small businesses where they spend the SNAP dollars. Those SNAP dollars are circulating right back into the economy.
Yeah.
Are you forgetting that? It seems like they
Well,
don't think about that.
no, they don't. It's just all such a, it all draws from the welfare queen meme from Ronald Reagan. And it just it really is a microcosm of the overall Republican playbook, and has been for generations now, which is, if I can make average working folks, middle class people, more angry at poor people than I can at the rich people who are really screwing them at us, then I can control what they do. And that's really the playbook here.
Okay. Yeah,
and
I
it's,
wouldn't dispute that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you look at none of it makes sense, David, when we talk about it. I mean, let's say there is fraud in the welfare program. Well, this is the conversation I've had with so many people. Well, are you telling me that there are more people on SNAP who are committing fraud than people who need it? Is that what you're saying to me? And everyone's answer, I've
Great
never
point.
had anyone say, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a lot of fraud, not that most of the people don't need it. And okay, Well, then the majority of the people on that program need it. So
Yeah,
why are we basing how you feel about this program on the
right.
minority of the people who are receiving it?
Right. And even in the cases where there might be fraud, I would argue that money, it's not like they're putting it in their 401ks
Yeah.
or they're
Right.
putting it
Right.
in
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
interest yielding CDs or something. The
Right.
money is still circulating back into the economy.
Yeah.
So it's like you're really making a problem out of something that's not a problem. And and
Well,
and they continue to forget, that the economy, there are small businesses that rely on those SNAP
yes.
benefits, that rely
Yeah.
on those people spending that money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many limitations on it now. There's so many, restrictions on things that you're right. I mean, even if you have some people who want to trade off, to sell their SNAP benefits for X dollars so they can get cash to buy this or that or whatever. It's such first of all, it's such a minuscule amount of money overall,
Right.
to the average person that most of the time it's not even worth it. Okay, to attempt something like that. Secondly, you're right. It does, it will going to trickle its way back into the economy anyways, and thirdly, it's it's estimated at around 1% of the overall program. That's what the fraud rate
Which
is
is
around
which is nothing.
1%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
And I
nothing.
mean, it's just,
That's nothing.
and so, but,
Yeah.
instead you hear all these stories about, the person driving the Cadillac with the nails done, talking on her iPhone. That used to be a big thing. Today
Yeah.
you still hear people talk about, hey, on an iPhone using her welfare card. I'm like, who the hell is it who doesn't have a cell phone? That's their phone, at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it just, you don't, and I tell people, you don't know the situation. You don't have any idea
Nope.
what the situation is,
Nope. Nope.
and more than anything, why, let's put this in perspective. Okay. While
Mhm.
that's going on, as we mentioned before, that SNAP program costs you less than $50 a year for the average
Mhm.
taxpayer.
Mhm. Mhm.
Corporate subsidies, giveaways to billion-dollar companies and billionaires cost you $5,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who you mad at? I mean,
Yeah.
let me tell you, if you're pissed off at that
Well,
lady because you think she can afford some stuff and she's getting food stamps, man, are you going to be really pissed at the oil and gas industry? My God, the pharmaceutical industry. Woo!
yeah, I think there's a psychology that the wealthy elite count on, which is that they know that ultimately people in the middle class and even at the lower end of the social economic scale really want to be wealthy. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
really wants to be wealthy.
Yes.
So they're counting on that psychology to kind of protect them, I think. But
Yeah.
but again, like you're saying, when you look at it logically and objectively, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be mad at people who are struggling to make ends meet, a small percentage of whom, a very small, a minuscule percentage of whom may be engaging in fraudulent activities when you've got people, in the Warren Buffett, at the Warren
Mm-hmm.
Buffett level or even, well below the Warren Buffett level,
Yeah.
but still, making hundreds of millions of dollars who aren't paying taxes or who aren't
Well,
paying much on their taxes.
yeah, I think it's a
It
relatability
doesn't make
thing.
any sense.
Yeah,
Huh?
I think it's a relatability thing more than anything.
Mhm.
Is you have these people. You're right; they want to be wealthy, and they do aspire
Yeah.
to that. But
Yeah.
I think even more so, what makes it easier to coerce them into being angry at the poor folks who may or may not be stealing $100 a month off of food stamps, more than
Right.
they're angry at them cheating on their taxes or basically paying fewer taxes than their secretary, or
Yeah.
the janitor at the office.
Which Warren Buffett
What?
actually said. He actually
Yeah.
said that
Well,
he
yeah. I mean, you
pays
look at the
less
tax
taxes than
structure.
his secretary. Yeah.
There's a great clip out there of who's the former Daily Show host. Not Jon Stewart, but right after Jon Stewart, who took over for him, the
Trevor
South
Noah?
African Trevor Noah.
Trevor
Trevor Noah,
Noah. Yeah.
and he's talking about the the double standard that is used for like someone like say Elon Musk, who has where they say, well, you can't tax unrealized gains on your stock portfolio or whatever. But yet, one of the ways that rich people become richer is they use those same gains that we can't possibly tax because you just can't quantify them. But they can use those to borrow money against, to use as collateral for business purposes. So you can quantify it when they want to and when it benefits them.
Right.
But in terms of
Right.
paying taxes and hoarding wealth, they can't do that. And so therefore it leads them, as that's why they take a lot of stock options on things, because it does lower their tax rates to such a degree. And that's what people can't relate to. The average person, the average working person, more relates to that person who is on food stamps than they are to the billionaire. And so that life over there is completely a mystery for the most part to them. And they don't even understand it. And they just assume that it's something that is a benefit of being wealthy. You know, once you get up to that level, you can do a lot of stuff. I don't know. But you see this person stealing $7,500 worth of food stamps and, oh my God, what a crook, and it just, that's the difference. And listen, the Republicans figured this out a long time ago, and you add in a dash of racism, or a lot of racism,
Yep.
and against whoever, and I mean, and it leads now to Joe, who's punching the clock at the factory, believing that his biggest problem every day is the Hispanic guy who's roofing houses in his neighborhood, and not
Right.
the fucking millionaire executive at his own company who's stealing the shit out of his wages that he ought to be making.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and it just,
you're right. I mean, this is an old playbook. I mean, it's you think about what happened in this state well over 100 years ago with the 1901 Constitution. I mean, it's the same general kind of approach where you try to find a way to pit, the poor against each other, or in the case of the state of Alabama, the poor whites against the poor blacks who were recently freed slaves, and then you build a political and an economic structure based upon that, and a culture around that, and people just they buy into it because times are hard and you got to have somebody to blame, and you don't want to blame
listen,
yourself, so you
we know,
blame
David,
this person over here.
it's the way that equality becomes unfair to the person who is pushing
Right.
inequality.
Exactly.
It's you know what I'm saying? It's that. I mean, it's leveling. We're leveling the playing field is somehow unfair now to the person who is enjoying the advantages of the unlevel playing field. And so yeah, I mean, we've got a whole this white victimhood that is really driven a lot of what we see in this country over the last 4 years or so. That really is the reason why Kamala Harris couldn't get elected and why Joe Biden was such an unpopular president, was because they played into this white victimhood and about how, the white man was so oppressed and how you can't do anything as a white man. You hear, jackasses like Dave Portnoy and some other ones talk about it now. I mean, it's really hard to be a white man. No, it's not. I mean, what are you talking about? Fucking easy as shit to be a white dude. Okay. You really can go out and just work and go and get a job and have success or whatever. You don't have anybody who's denying you an interview because your name sounds funny. You don't have anybody who's suspecting you of stealing just because you're driving through a certain neighborhood at night. You don't have any of this shit. None of this shit is raining down on you every single day. And you want to tell me how hard it is? Well, imagine if it's that hard on you now, then let's put in some of these other roadblocks and you tell me how it works.
Yeah, people that say that, to me, it just sounds like they've been smoking crack. I mean, it's
so stupid.
insane.
It's stupid. It's just really, I mean, Dave Portnoy, who's got to be worth nearly $1 billion now, talking about how it's so tough on him. I mean, look, man, and I know a lot of this came after somebody said some anti-Semitic things to him, and that person was a jackass and a moron and should never have said anything anti-Semitic to Portnoy. If you want to have a problem with Portnoy, there are a lot better reasons, legitimate reasons to have a problem with him than some made up shit about his religion or his background or his history or whatever. I mean, it's just come on, man. It's just I get so tired of the sensitivity of some of these folks and how it has driven them to every single time vote against their own interest and against good people who were trying like Joe Biden, right? Yeah, this is one thing they wrote about was these people love Donald Trump. And over the course of just the last few months, he has rolled back the limitations on overdraft fees. He's rolled back the protections on predatory lending from credit card companies. He's rolled back all the whole Consumer Protection Bureau. He's basically done away with the whole damn thing.
Done away with it, yeah.
And all of those things are going to help people like you and me, and I mean, and it may actually help some poor. And yet somehow or another, Joe Biden was an enemy to you, and not this dude who's pretty clearly doing nothing for you and giving away your money to his rich friends.
It's like Dave Chappelle said in one of his routines a few years ago. He said he was looking at the people that he was standing in line voting with, waiting to vote in Ohio, there where he lives, Yellow Springs, I think, Ohio. And he was looking at them, and these are apparently he had discerned some kind of way they were probably Trump voters, and he was saying, he's not fighting for you, he's fighting for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm rich. He's fighting for me. He's not fighting for you.
It's like Chris Rock said. He's like there's not a white man in this room who would trade places with me, and I'm rich. There's a bus boy in the back right now who says, "Yeah, I'm just going to ride this white thing out, see where it takes me."
See how it plays out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, come on, man. And, it's bullshit, because if it wasn't bullshit, they wouldn't be trying so desperately to hide the history of the thing.